Hi, this is YVON PREHN, and we're continuing our series on websites and blogs. And in this one, I'm going to show you how to create a site using WordPress.com. Now, before you get started, you need to have a few things in place before you actually open up the software. First of all, figure out why you're doing it. What is the purpose of your site? Or if you don't really have a purpose in mind and you just want to learn how to do it, it's perfectly okay just to call something Joe's test site or whatever. You can do that. Now, on the one that I'm going to be showing you, our church has asked my husband, who is a bivocational pastor, and myself to create a new adult Sunday school program and to have a website to support it. We've done this in the past. It worked out really well. And what I'm going to be showing you is actually a site that I am in the process of building. So you need a purpose. That's why I'm doing this particular one. Then you need your username and a couple of variations. My name is YVON PREHN. I'm going to do that. But I've done a lot of stuff with WordPress, and I know that they might already have that name in their system, so I might use my middle initial, which is G. Have a couple of options like that so you don't get all frazzled if it rejects the first thing that you put down. Then, what do you want your domain name to be with some local variations? Now, let me explain this. With WordPress.com, it is completely free. So you don't have to pay for a domain name registration. What you can do is you can just have the name of your site. As you can see this here, it'll just be http:// the name of your site.wordpress.com. Now later on, you could change that to your own domain name, but we're not going to worry about this right now. This is just the very simple how to get started with WordPress completely free. Now this name of your site, you want to have some local variations on that. And what I mean by that, and you'll see as we get into it, the class that we're actually doing is being called Life in 3D. These three words, discover, develop, deploy, these are the slogans of our church. They're calling the class Life in 3D. Now, that is not that unusual of a title. So, knowing that ahead of time, our church is Coastline Bible Church. If that's rejected, I can just add Coastline to it, Life in 3D, and it'll probably be okay. And I've done this quite a bit. We live in Ventura, California. I've created a site, maybe I think one time I did something called something like small groups, and of course that obviously is going to be taken, but I could do Ventura small groups or Ventura singles or whatever. If you add a lot of times just a local name to a more common name, works out real well. So think that through a little bit ahead of time. Also then your site title can be the same as or it can be different than the domain name. Now this domain name cannot be changed. This is what you're going to publish in your bulletin and all that. So you've got to pick that real carefully. But this one, I could have either Life in 3D or I could have Discover, Develop, Deploy, whatever it is, that you can change. And then you also need an email address that's unique to WordPress. I would imagine most of you watching this have not signed up with WordPress before, so your email address will be unique. If you've done other things with WordPress, you'll need to have a different email address because they only allow one per username. So have your email address ready. Okay? Let's get started now. You go to wordpress.com, not .org.com. Remember last week we talked about the differences between the two. Now you want to familiarize yourself with this page because later on, if you have trouble getting into your site, you can always go back here and see right up at the top where it says username and password. You can always log in through that. It's very easy to do. If you want to, you can look at some samples of different sites. This changes daily, and you can look around at things. If you want to read a little bit more about it, you can do that. And then there's lots of help and resources, and I want to just show these to you briefly. Now, I'm recommending that you take time to explore them. You probably won't, but just so you know that they're there, and you can do this later. First of all, this is at the bottom of that page. the WordPress.com, the 24/7 support. If you click on that, it will take you to the WordPress.com support site. And this is really very helpful. Just lots and lots of different things in this section that you can look up, read about, just tons of stuff. Also, I strongly recommend that when you have time, and this does take quite a bit of time if you've never been into something like this, that you look at the WordPress forums. I know when I've been building sites, the forums have been one of the most helpful things. There's lots and lots of information here. You do have to register, and using the same name that you had to sign up for things, that works out really well. And then it takes time to figure it out. Forums are kind of different if you haven't ever been in one before. And they tell you some different things here. They have 8 things to know before posting, just some support. It kind of tells you how to use them. But you kind of have to just sort of click around and figure them out and all that. It can take time to find answers. You'll notice here under this one, just the topic alone on questions, there's 17,000 entries. They do have a search box, and you can see that right here, the search section. But even then, sometimes it's kind of hard to find stuff. But it's very, very helpful. And I would encourage you to ask a question and just see what happens. People tend to respond right away. And when I've been stuck on some stuff, the forums have been extremely, extremely helpful. And then one thing, always be nice. There's lots of rules with forums, and good manners are absolutely essential, or they will kick you off them, which is I think a good thing. They tend to be very civil, very pleasant, and you will learn a lot from them. Also, WordPress.tv is something that is relatively recent. So again, down at the bottom of the page, if you click on it, it will first take you to the overall site. Now, the overall site is very I'm starting to say disorganized, and in a way it is, because they've just got all these different videos, the latest ones, the WordCamp videos, the popular videos, and you may not be interested in that at all, because there's just a lot of Aren't We Wonderful as WordPress, which is really kind of fun, and they are wonderful, but when you're desperate to know how to do something, that doesn't help. But what you can do on this page is you can go up to the top and click the How-To section, and that will take you to a much more organized set of videos. So support, forums, and WordPress TV, if you get stuck, will give you lots and lots of help. Now, my little series is going to help you out a lot, specifically on church stuff, but I don't have time to go, of course, and you don't want to probably watch my videos for the next 20 hours to go into every detail. So these 3 areas will help you out quite a bit. Okay, now part 1 of doing this, let's sign up for our website or blog. Okay, to get started, you go back to that WordPress.com page and you click on Sign Up Now. It will then take you to a page that looks like this. Now, you type in your name, your username. Now, it says must be at least 4 characters, lowercase, and numbers only. I did not read the instructions, so I put it in like this. And a minute later, I got a thing that said, lowercase only, can't you read? Well, they didn't say can't you read, but anyway, you want it to be lowercase only. And because I already had an account under this name, it said somebody else has that account, and you didn't do it in lowercase, so I had to redo it. But type in your password and your email address, and I did that wrong also because I already had that one, so I had to change them. If you mess up right from the start, don't worry about it. And you need what I call the non-WordPress email, because that one, it has to be something that's not already in their system. I actually use the same password for several sites, and they don't care about that. It's just your username and your email have to be different. And do have some options, like I said, in mine, in case it kicks you out of these. Especially on your name. If you have a common name, chances are somebody else has a blog registered in that name. So middle initial, or, just whatever you want to do. You can even have numbers in there. That's okay. And then I'd recommend that you record these somewhere. Then down at the bottom of the page, you click Give Me a Blog, and it does that. Now, it next takes you then to, and this box is blank. It takes you into where you fill in your blog domain name. Now, as I said earlier, this cannot be changed. Um, and so it's really, really important what you pick. This is how people will find your website. Now, the class that we're doing is called Life in 3D, so I typed that in first. And somebody already has a website called that. So, and they told me, sorry, this site exists. And this is where I talked about having a local variation. Our church is called Coastline, and so it makes great sense to say Coastline Life in 3D. And actually, when I clicked enter, that was fine. That worked out just great, and they accepted it. So kind of have that in mind, and don't be surprised if your name is already taken. Some that I've done a lot of blogs and a lot of sites, and I've really been surprised at some of them that were already taken. And then I've been totally amazed that some were not. For example, one that I'm getting ready to launch, the name Church Communications Blog. Now, I would have thought somebody would have taken that ages ago. Nobody had. I snagged it, and I'll be doing that. So you never know, but have different things in mind. Then your blog title. Now, this can be changed. This you can change it to all kinds of things. If you're doing just a test site, you can have my blog test site, or whatever, but you can change this. The sort of tagline for our Sunday school class is discover, develop, and deploy. That's what makes up the Life in 3D. And so I thought, well, I'll just put that in there and see what how that works out. So that can be changed. This one can't be. You click sign up there, and then the next screen that you will get to is an email notification. It says, go to this email, the one that they accepted, and activate your account. You can now start your profile that will go along with your account, my first name, my last name, and then it says about yourself. Now, because this website is not really about me, it's about the class, that's the description that I put in there. You don't even have to put anything in there, but if you want to, you can be working on that because it does take a few minutes. Then I went into my email account, and you get a message that looks like this. Howdy. Thank you for signing up with WordPress.com. You're one step away from blogging at coastlinelifein3d.wordpress.com. Please click this link, this one right here, to activate your blog. You activate that, you click that, and then you are taken to a page like this. Your account is now active. Ta-da! And you notice that it has my username. I ended up having to put my middle initial in there because it first just rejected my name because I had other things, and my password. Now, this page seems very simple, but it isn't. So I want you to listen very carefully to the next few things that I'm going to say, because this can mess you up, because you can make it sort of work out, and then you can completely get lost. Here's where it gets tricky. See right here where it says your account is now active, view your site or log in. Now, depending upon which one you pick, if you click view your site, this is what it will take you to. It will take you to their basic template. This is their default template now. And this is great, but you get there, and then chances are you won't know what to do, because you'll click on it and you'll click on it and nothing will happen. And it can just make you absolutely crazy, because what you have to do is you have to log in. So if you go to this particular, if you go to your pretty thing here, see down here, it's under the metadata, and there's a little bitty thing right there that says log in, and you have to click on that, and it will then take you to this page, and you log in. You could go directly to the login and go there first, but it doesn't really tell you about that, so that's kind of scary. So you type in your username, your password, and you log in. And I'll show you where you go in just a minute. But it's real important to remember how to be able to actually get back into your sites, because if later on you change it and you get rid of the metadata on your home page, and I always do because I think it's really ugly there, how do you get back into your site? Well, you can always go to, there's ways you can do it through the URL, but the easiest, simplest, and no-brainer way is just you can always go back into WordPress.com and up here, username and password, and that'll get you into your sites. So if you forget everything else, if you remember your username and password, that's how you can always get into your site. Please make a note of this, because I know a lot of people get messed up if they don't do it and they think they have a site, then they can't get into it, or they get to the home page but they forget how to log in, and it can be very frustrating. So just always remember this will work. WordPress.com, username and password. Okay, once you log in, then it takes you to your dashboard. You now have a site. This is where all of your work takes place, and in our next section I'll show you how to start working with it. If you make any change, do anything with it, to see what your site looks like, just click on your site title. Here I have the Discover, Develop, Deploy, and it will take you to your home page and you can see what changes you made. Now, there's one other thing. Some of these are kind of tricky little things that I learned the hard way. If you do not see the changes on your site, this can be very upsetting. You've done some changes, maybe especially when you start adding pages and things like this and they don't show up. Or you add a widget, which I will show you later, and it doesn't show up. Or you change it and the change doesn't show up. What you may need to do, and I have found that I have older computers. In fact, my computers are so old, it's a wonder they're still functioning. But especially with the older computers, you may need to clear out the history of your browser before the new changes will take place. Your computers, they hold certain information in your browser history, in your browser cache, so that your sites will refresh faster if you're just surfing around. When you're building a site, that can really be deceptive. So here's what you need to do. This is a very, very, very important thing to learn to do, because as you start building things on websites, you have to do this a lot. And that is, you go into your browser. Here I have Internet Explorer, which is what most people use. Foxfire is very similar. But right up at the top of whenever you go onto the internet, see there's this little list here: File, Edit, View, Favorites, Tools. You go under Tools, and then there'll be a drop-down menu that will say, and in different browsers it'll say something like Clear Browser History or Clear Recent History. You click on that. You wait a few minutes, then you go back into your site, and you should be able to see the changes. Sometimes you need to do that a couple of times. Sometimes you even have to shut down your computer, start it up again, clear the browser history, and then go to your site. I'm telling you this, it's a pain in the neck, but if you don't know that you need to do this, it can really mess you up if you're working on your site and changes don't happen like you think they are going to happen. This also happens with Constant Contact, with a lot of the add-on programs. If you make a number of changes and you don't see them, always go back into your browser history, click on the tools, clear it out, and you will see the changes that you need. Very, very important little tip. Okay, I'm going to stop here on this section, and then we will start out with showing you how to use your dashboard.